if I would just scan the room and figure out who's a good fit. I think the best people in this space, if we think about what it is that we are doing, we're in the relationship business. Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
Welcome back. Best hour of their day. We've got a 3-part series.
3 parts. That means 1, 2, and 3.
And this first part is going to be all about your aspiring trainers. But the whole series is going from aspiring trainer to world-class coach. So how we get someone who says, hey, Fern, I want to do that thing you do. Cool. Now let's make you really, really good at it. We've done a series before on leads to lifers, very similar, except now it's all about what's happening on the dance floor, how you develop a new coach.
I think a lead into this whole series, which is really important, is understanding the delicate balance that needs to be struck between the art of coaching and running your affiliate. Because this whole conversation is not a thing unless we understand that, hey, if I want to have world-class coaches, meaning if I want people that have the desire, skill set to pursue being really good at this, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, they have to have somewhere to go. Meaning there needs to be some sort of career opportunity for them at the end of the yellow brick road. And then simultaneously, if we want to run great affiliates, they're going to need to be full of great coaches. And so those two things need to intersect at an apex and understand like how those two things go together. So I don't want anybody to think of these two things in a vacuum. They're fundamentally required for each other. So
yeah, and I think that's a strong foundation, right? We're going to talk about the coaching leg of it, but you're right. Like, we had Nicole Christensen on, and she talked about how you pass your level 3, you get $3,000. You pass your level 4, $9,000. She said $9,000, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's providing people an opportunity to earn a living, and a lot of affiliate owners struggle to get quality coaches without that introspection of like, what am I doing to provide the opportunity?
There needs to be a place for them to go, and this is somewhere where there's always room for improvement. No matter how long you've been doing this, no matter how good you think you are at it, there's always things that would fall in the insufficient.
Well, that was shocking to me. I had never heard of someone doing that. Like, hey, you get a bump in pay for sure. We'll even pay for your level 3, your level 4, but a $3,000 and $9,000 bonus, that was unheard of.
I think it's great, and I think it made me a little uncomfortable, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to rethink that and start figuring out how to do that.
You better hope Cassidy and Lindsay don't watch that episode.
Well, it's too late. They already got it. They'd be real pissed if I throw a bonus at somebody else though later. So,
and then also having Brittany on and her saying, when I got my level 4, someone passed their level 3 and 3 people passed their level 2, holding yourself to that same standard. If you're not pursuing the next credential, chances are your coaches aren't going to care as much about it.
Right.
We hear it all the time. I need coaches. Where should I go? Like, should I barbell jobs, Craigslist?
Yeah, I think that's a less important question because the answer is yes. You find good people. We've talked about this before. You find good people and you make them into good coaches. You can find good people in a lot of places. In many instances, there's at least 1 or 2 right under your nose inside of the affiliate. Now, how do you identify those people?
Before you identify them, I want to tell you this. We've worked with 500 or so affiliates. Never once has an affiliate owner, one of our clients, come to us and said, I need a coach. And when I tell them, have they not asked their current members?
Right.
100% of the time they found someone. There's always someone,
somebody.
Right? And
they've just not voiced. They can't think of anybody who's verbally expressed it to them prior to that moment.
They're thinking the super fit people don't want to coach.
Right.
Cool. It's probably not that person anyway. It's
correct.
Susie, whose kids just went off to school and now has time to coach the 9 a.m. or someone who, their job now changed and they're done at 4 p.m.
Right.
It's never, but you have to ask. Now, I will say this.
Sometimes they'll fall in your lap and take it when it comes.
And also be smart about how you're asking. If you just post it on social media or your newsletter, be prepared to get someone potentially you don't want to coach. So,
which we'll get to this, but that actually doesn't matter.
For sure.
People are afraid of that. I'm like,
process.
if you have the right screening process, it won't matter. But that will sort itself out.
Being at the whiteboard, looking around, being like, hey, if any of these 12 people said I want to coach, I'd be cool with it. But let's take a step back now. Do you think most coaches come from within?
I mean, there'd be no way to, other than just anecdotally, of all the affiliate owners I personally know, plus all the ones we've worked with, and plus my experience, your experience, like, yeah, the vast majority of them are probably from in-house. And then you'll have some other instances where, I think Nicole at Roots has taken some folks from outside.
Well, you get to be at her level, your level, create this thing that is a desirable location, not just in the sense of Virginia Beach or Boulder, but I mean, I can be a really good coach and develop there.
I think that's fundamentally the key, is like, if you want to bring in people that are going to be high caliber people, they need forget the finances, right? Like, that type of person wants opportunity for growth. They want the financial too. I'm not discounting that, but I'm like, you can't overlook, they're like, hey, I'm going to go there because I know I'm going to get better.
Well, and financial opportunity can look like, I want to get on seminar staff.
Could look like a lot of things.
There's 3 people there. Roots has at least 2. They've had 3, others that have come and gone. But yeah, you have to offer people, and very few people start as a CrossFit coach for the money.
I mean, probably almost nobody.
Right. It's like, I love this thing. And then they want...
Which, for the record, I think that should change, but that's a different discussion altogether.
For sure. But it's often, I love this thing, and I want to get good at it. And you need to be an affiliate that allows that. So when we tell affiliate owners, you should be pursuing the next credential, or you should be participating in the knowledge or coach development within Affiliate U, it's because we know your coaches will see that and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, fundamentally, this whole conversation starts with you as the leader of that group of people, right? Like, if you're not getting better and you're not developing yourself and creating different skill sets and better awareness and all those other things, and saying, just sitting down and saying, hey, like, I really kind of suck at X, Y, or Z. Like, I'm not I went through this, I think I've always been an okay leader. What I realized about maybe a year and a half ago, I was like, I'm a shitty manager. And those are different things.
Why did you say that? What made you say that?
Because I think managing is different than leading. Managing means that you understand how to build systems and create accountability and have more kind of like specific technical skills, where I think leadership is you just have the ability to inspire, to cast a good vision. That's more abstract.
It's like the charismatic leader.
Right. But I think, but managing is a whole, you go to school for that.
Yeah.
So.
Somehow I manage. Who is a good fit to coach intern?
Wait, who's a good fit for?
Coach/intern.
Okay, so how are you identifying these people? Like, if I would just scan the room and figure out who's a good fit, I think the best people in this space, if we think about what it is that we are doing, we're in the relationship business. In a CrossFit gym, you're in the relationship business, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. Like, yes, that relationship or the vehicle for that is fitness, but we're in the relationship business.
Yeah, and whether you want to acknowledge it or not, like, if you haven't already acknowledged it, there's something going on.
It's a good place to start. Yeah. So I think looking around and seeing, like, who are the people? Who are the people in your gym that are like people? Like, they like to interact with people. They're outgoing. They're very likely, at least in that environment, extrovert in nature to some degree. They have good EQ, like, they're very emotionally and socially intelligent, right? They understand if that joke was inappropriate, or they understand that how to talk to somebody or who's of a different age bracket than them. Those are the kind of people that you're looking for. Is somebody that's fun, that's engaging. Start there first. Think personality first.
Personality goes a long way. In our curriculum, there's 2 lessons. One, brand heroes. Mm-hmm. So if you're an affiliate owner, you're like, and we tell you, hey, interview the best 4 members you have to find out why they're that's probably one way. Like, those are typically who would become coaches, and also the ambassadors. Like,
right.
Who do you want to represent your gym? And often those people become coaches.
Well, it's also a good, people like them. If you're choosing them for that, that's also probably a strong indicator.
For all the reasons you said.
Correct. People like them, at which point they have a much higher likelihood for success. Because somebody liking you makes up for a lot of faults.
This is how I've survived.
Yeah, this is how you've got here. But I think that's really important to acknowledge that if people genuinely like that person that steps out onto the floor, they're going to give them a lot of leeway, and they're going to give them a lot of grace as they work through the process of actually coaching.
Well, and I try to remind our clients, those that are coaching 20, 25, 30 hours a week, and they're like, man, no one can do this, or I can't find someone, they're not ready. It's like, as long as they're the type of person you're describing, everyone will be happier with them. Because what I can tell you is your 29th and 30th class of the week is not as good as their first and second.
It's definitely not.
Even if there's 0 actual seeing and correcting happening, and it's just simply, we managed the group for 60 minutes, it was fun, and no one died.
Yeah.
They had a better time than your 30th class of the week. I promise.
We're checking a lot of boxes at this point.
Yeah. So this often comes up. Okay. So, Susie said she wants to coach. Susie's, kids are in school now. She's good for the 9 and the noon. What's the sequence of events for level 1? It becomes, what needs to happen first? Should I start her interning? Does she have to take her level 1? Who should pay for it? These are all different questions that arise.
Yes.
It's true. There's no black and white answer.
There's no. That has a lot to do with, like, what's the time frame? Who is this person? What's the gym? And for affiliate owners, this is the crux of a lot of problems that affiliate owners have, which is this paralysis by analysis. They're like, why? They're asking all these questions. At which point, the right answer would have just been like, dude, do anything. Like, anything that would start you moving down that path is probably a good decision. Because you don't know what you don't know. Most of this we're going to get wrong en route anyway. So just start and be okay with it not being perfect.
And a reminder, me, 2 level 4s, 2 seminar staff, successful affiliates, we were really bad coaches.
Horrific.
Like, many, many people leaving their level 1 are leaving better than we were.
Very likely. Very likely.
And it's just because there's far more information out there. The level 1 is better.
Yeah.
Right? You can go on YouTube. I don't even know if YouTube, I think it was around in 2007, but it certainly wasn't.
That's a good question. I don't
know. But it certainly wasn't like littered with, there was 1 video a day, not even every day, on CrossFit. It was almost exclusively for many years people working out. It didn't become a coaching. It was
either that or it was maybe snippets of Greg
giving lectures.
Yeah, giving lectures, right? And things about nature back in the day.
When I was taking the level 3 even in 2013, or no, when I was trying to get on seminar staff in like 2012, there was like 5 videos. It was like Andy Stumpf coaching the overhead squat.
Right.
Like, so point is, like, you can become a better coach without even leaving your house right now than we were able. So point is, like, just get them going.
Just start the process. And I'm not saying that's optimal, but I'm just saying that
optimal is getting a new coach going, especially if you're burning out as the owner.
Right. And so I think very rarely is somebody asking this question preemptively, meaning like ahead of a shortage or burnout. The question, this typically comes up when they're like, yo, I'm burnout. And I'm like, we should have had this conversation 6 months ago.
Right. And also, it's almost counterintuitive that coaching is one of the first places we should be hiring.
It's one of, well, it depends. I think maybe not. I think it's one of the easier ones, meaning because people are doing the thing.
Easier is a better word.
And again, don't get too wrapped around the axle on that, but it is kind of easier to start people there. Like, you know how to do that. There's a strong argument for there's some administrative tasks that you could hand off before that, but typically you're not good at that, so it's hard to hand off things you're not good at. So let's stick
But then
with
it's
coaching.
also a matter of, like, I know when they're here, I can watch it. Where a lot of
Correct.
frustration for affiliate owners, like, are they doing it? How well are they? Because it's virtual.
Correct. So I think it's one of the first places when you, like fulfillment, right? We'll just put that in the big bucket called fulfillment, like delivering the steak to the table, right? That is coaching. Well, if you're running a restaurant, the first thing you're probably going to need is some wait staff. That's where you're going to start. You're not going to hire 12 more chefs. I'm going to hire 5 to 7 more wait staff in order to distribute that food, right? And if you're the box owner, you're the chef. You're the one making sure that all the things happen, and then you can have these wait staff that are going to take that steak to the table, and then your job is to make sure that it gets to the table on time. It's the right temperature, that they ask the right question, that they deliver the food on the right side of the person seated at the table, that all the silverware and everything is placed the right way, that they ask the right question, they place the net. Like, that's your job. It's not to deliver every steak to every single table, right? Your job is to make sure that it happens right at every single table, which means you should probably be a pretty good waiter yourself. So you start there, and then you start to backfill behind that. But if you were going to evaluate wait staff, who would you pick? You'd pick the people that were outgoing.
Smiled.
Right. That interact with people, that have high EQ, that are socially intelligent.
I think there's a strong, I mean, it's customer service, right? There's a strong,
100%.
because one of my first jobs was busboy, then waiter, and I was really good at it at a young age, and I think it's a lot of the same skills and characteristics of a good coach.
You're interacting with people at a high clip.
Yeah, that's it. It's like,
So
whether it's food or fitness, you're taking care of them. So whether or not they take their level 1, there has to be some sort of onboarding process.
yeah, and this can look like a lot of different things, and I don't think, and people are like, what's the best way to do this? And I wish I could say here's the optimal way to do it, but in the current ecosystem that is CrossFit affiliates, I mean, we could kind of put these in one of 3 buckets. I need one yesterday, right? I need one in a month, and
I'm preparing for the future.
I'm preparing for the future. And that first one is like, you're just going to have to pick anybody. At that point,
And make it
likability is the top priority, right? They have to, I don't care if they know the difference between their elbow and their butt. People need to like them. You start there. Let's just say that you do have a month, okay? And I was talking to somebody about this maybe like a week ago. And a lot of this can be resolved by just recalibrating the expectation. And she's like, well, my husband's leaving for 4 months, and I'm going to have to take over all of this, and I'm going to have to give this up. And so I've got to get a coach up to speed in 1 month. And I said, you're not going to. That's not a thing. So don't have the expectation, because that expectation will set you up and them up for failure. So have the expectation that I will get somebody that I like that can check a handful of boxes in place inside of 1 month. And then I will start the process of developing them from there. You're going to have to do it a little bit out of order. But if you come in with the expectation, like, I'm going to have to get this person like ready to go in 1 month, and I'm like, that's not going to happen.
Well, it goes back to what we said, like, hey, you not only were bad, you're still kind of a bad coach, right? So why do you care that this person does not have to be perfect? Affiliate owners have this false sense of success or ability. Like, we worked hundreds of level 2s, and I see affiliate owners and coaches come through. I'm like, they're not always very good. And
here's why. It's important to understand why. You have to understand that your ability to deliver, and I can give a personal experience for this inside of affiliate, your ability to deliver diminishes as the volume increases. There's just no other outcome than that. There's a point of diminishing return where, like, all right, I'm ramping, I'm getting hours, I'm getting better. But as those hours increase, you just get worse, because you just don't have the physical, emotional output to give what you need to. So understand that just because you're doing all of it and you know a little bit more doesn't mean that is good.
But you also have no comparison, right? You haven't seen a level 4. You haven't seen seminar staff.
So, but maybe you have.
What was your example within affiliate U?
Like Steve and Allison and Joel doing all the homeworks and stuff like that. And I was, because I review a lot, I review all of their homeworks, and I was just like, these are better than what I was doing.
And it's good. It's exactly
why?
what you said.
Because I was like, well,
you're tired.
They're doing 25% of what I was doing. And I'm like, it wasn't that.
They're also fresh.
Correct, right? So I was like, and that's better for the box owner, just like it's better for that person who comes into the 6 a.m. to get somebody who's not haggard and worn out.
Well, and
the other 5 days a week.
The other similar thing is like, no one cares that it's you.
Yeah, they want to have interactions with you, and they want to have access to you. But at the end of the day, they don't care.
They want results.
Correct.
And
they're not paying to be your friend.
Right. They're paying to get me better at this thing. I think another mistake affiliate owners make is like, I've got this great intern process that's going to take 24 weeks. They're expected to work for free for 20 hours. It's like, to eventually make $15. Like, you're so out of alignment there. You mean, it's okay to have a shadowing process. It's okay to co-coach and have an internship, but it has to be realistic to what the outcome is going to be.
Well, I think there's two ways to look at that. You can look at a time-based program, or you can look at an outcome-based program. I feel that, practically speaking, for most affiliates, an outcome-based program is more appropriate, meaning how fast they get through that process is completely up to them. If they come in there and they are just a sledgehammer and they're done in 2 months, I'm like, great, good for you. If they need 4 to 6 months, then great. But the outcome is the outcome. I need you to do these things. Many
people are not going to commit to 4 to 6 months to eventually make $40 a week coaching.
I mean, I think the ecosystem at whole would prove that to be incorrect.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's realistic. I think it's obviously realistic. It's happening.
Right.
I agree with that. However, I think most affiliates, based on everything we've spoken about, are not in a position, be it time, financial, ability, to have someone do that for that long. I think 1 to 2 months to get them going is often not only enough, but both parties can handle before getting them to coach.
Well, this goes back to what's the outcome and who are we talking about? Because I've had both, and for us now, it's not pressing. But I need a specific product on the floor, and it does become more structured, and the bar becomes a little bit higher as you and your staff get better at it, as it should. It should be harder to make the team as everybody gets better. So I don't think that's weird. Let's just assume that you are, your everyday box. There's no games athletes there. There's no seminar staff there. There's just we'll call it the most boxes. How would you go about doing this? And I think you just pull out your most recent lesson plan that you wrote. If you haven't written one, start there. And then you teach based off of that. Like, you just start working through the sections of the lesson plan. And where would you start? Like, hey, write one of these. Start there. And then get a little bit further. Like, let's talk about the whiteboard brief. Let's talk about the cool down, general warm-up, specific warm-up, workout. Put all those together. And what I've seen time and time again is that people make it overly complex. The longer I do this, I want to say, just teach them how to make the sausage, man. You don't have to do all this fancy shit. Walk them up to the whiteboard, teach them how to give a whiteboard brief, and then have them do it. Because we forget, they already have a really solid amount of context of this whole thing. They've been there for years and understand this CrossFit thing. Just teach them how to make the sausage. Hey, here's the anatomy of a good whiteboard brief. For every class, you're gonna give the whiteboard brief when you show up, and we're gonna evaluate it.
And that goes back to,
here's the process that I want you to work through on that.
Do you know what a good whiteboard brief is?
Right. What's the workout? What's a stimulus? What are some scaling options? Strategy after that if you got time. Get out of that in 3 minutes. Move on.
And going back to what we said about 4 to 6 months, it is also relative to the expectation per month, per week.
Right, just volume.
Yeah,
and that can be part of the screening process if you're looking for somebody who this is where you can if you get a candidate who you're not super pumped about, this is a way to you can weed people out that way. Be like, oh, well, you got to do all these things. And they're like, this sucks. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just not for you. And then they move on, and no harm, no foul.
And something you've said numerous times, it's like, just because you start doesn't mean you're going to finish.
You have to have that conversation on the outset. Yeah, for sure.
For that reason, again, depending on where you are in this, you have one option. The goal is to get them to coach. But
right.
if you have other coaches and someone's just wanting to intern to become a coach there, keep them as a member. Nothing's worse than like, cool, now you have a free member. Oh, now you don't anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Keep them as a member and set them, like, I wouldn't recommend starting an intern process with someone if the goal wasn't to get them to coach, but know that it's okay if it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely okay if it doesn't work. And I've had that before. I think there's a couple big ticket items that you have to identify. One is, what do I need to happen inside of this process? Like, so forget what it even looks like, but like, what is the minimal viable product that I have to have come out of this thing that we just made? You got to start there. And then having the conversation with that person about what is their availability. And I think a lot of people skip over this, which is important, which is they need to be providing some value to the team. Like if they have no availability to come in and relieve the pressure of all those things, then you should not even start them. And that's where most people will just fall off. Be like, hey, you're going to need to coach a minimum of this number of classes.
5 a.m. a week.
You know, maybe not that, but like, hey, I need you to coach at least 10 a month. Right? That's the minimum that I'm going to have here for this to be mutually beneficial for both parties. If they can't meet that, I'm like, great, then we just move on. Because what I would really like to avoid is, let's say we do 4 to 6 months, and then they coach 3 classes a month. That was not worth my time at all.
Well, no, that's a huge factor in this, right? This is work for both people.
Correct.
If you're doing a good job, this is a heavy lift for you. The outcome being, cool, now I've got some time back.
Right.
After, or eventually I've even delegated the idea of developing my coaches to another coach. And we'll talk about that as we go, how you get a coach to be a part of the team and what continued development.
So I think you have to have that conversation. And then I think you have to set the expectation about whatever your process is. And again, there's a lot of different ways to do this. And it's kind of like when you design your onboarding, you can do this so many different ways, but it should be specific to you. What do you want? What time do they have available? Because if they have limited time availability, then it's not weird if this takes a little bit longer. Meaning if they just can't get the reps in, then we have less ability to turn around and implement feedback.
It's task priority, not time priority.
Correct. So so you set that expectation, and then you have to measure it on a frequent basis. Meaning like you need to tell them like, if you're going to work through this, I need to see you roughly at this clip, and these are our metrics for success or failure as we work through, and that way you can end it early if you need to. Right. The other error I see is just that they let somebody go all the way through this process. I'm like, man, that you should have cut that. You knew 8 weeks ago. Like you should have terminated that 8 weeks ago.
Oh, they're going to change. It's like a relationship.
You should have terminated 8 weeks ago.
What are some of the minimum requirements to get them actually coaching? We talked about like relational and all.
Yeah, if you checked all those boxes, then from a skill set standpoint, like I need to see a good litany of different types of lesson plans. Right? You have to show basic capacity to do this. That demonstrates to me that you're thinking critically about what it is that we do, and there's a reason behind why you're going to do this here and that there. So anytime we bring people on, like that's where they start. It's the first thing. Like every day you show up, whether you're interacting with the class in any way or not, you're expected to show up with a lesson plan. And you show it to the coach, and it starts really basic, and then it gets more and more complex as they get better at them. And let's just say that you were going to put 30 hours on the floor. I'm making a number up just for the purposes of this conversation. That like their cumulative hours on the floor is going to be 30 by the time they finished. Well, then you should have a minimum of 30 lesson plans. You're not going to tell me that writing 30 lesson plans, they're not going to get significantly better in that time.
Right. Just the act of writing a lesson plan.
Just the act of writing a lesson plan. And then after that, it's like, hey, you need to be able to give a thorough, well-communicated whiteboard brief. This one for me is non-negotiable, because if you cannot do that, that is a very good indicator that your communication skills are not going to be adequate once we break from the whiteboard.
And an understanding of the class itself.
Correct. So that is a huge component of that. And And you should be able to teach people to do that. I don't think it's that big of a hurdle. I do want to stress the importance of it though. Everything else after that, you just start to put them through that. And I want them to run a timely class. My expectation for anybody working through that is not that they are, a Jedi at seeing and correcting. My expectation is I want to see a timely class that is logistically sound, where there is a high engagement with the athletes. And I look at this through is this pretty fun?
That's
some basic stuff, right? Because I know fundamentally my expectation is not for them to be a great teacher, great at seeing, and great at correcting. Those things come with time. Now you could speed that up a little bit depending on like how aggressive you want this to be, but that's not my expectation. I think it should be pretty good. I think they should know what questions to ask by the time we get to hit the go button. I think they should be asking me a lot of things, like, hey, what do I do here? I was struggling. I couldn't see that. I'm like, great. These are all good indicators that you are noticing your deficiencies, essentially. I can fix those. That's easy. So really all I want to see is like good group management, good presence and attitude, right? Even if your demonstration is subpar, you're trying and you're getting a little bit better at it, right? So because typically we list those in the level 2, it's just like you've got teaching, seeing, correcting on the left side, you've got group management, presence and attitude demonstrated on the right side. The boxes you for sure have to check, that whole right side. You have to be able to check the right side of that list, those other 3, because I know the time and volume that it takes to get good at the 3 on the left. And it's just not really
and getting good at the right side will allow you to get good.
Correct.
And one thing I always would watch for with coaches is like, I would just watch the members leave. I'm like, are they smiling? Are they happy? Are they fist bumping each other? Are they sitting around? To get out of there? Yeah, are they sitting around talking, staying longer? Right. So, like we've said, they're not going to be a virtuous coach, even when they're done with your intern process.
Right.
But they're going to be good enough to get started.
Yeah, and I think, because again, we're in the people business, so what's paramount? Being good with people. The coaching thing just inherently, I think, comes second. Because even if you did come to the table with a decent amount of knowledge, your lack of people skills will hold you back forever.
Right. You could be the most technical coach in the world.
But if you can't connect and you can't, I think about the number of box owners that we've dealt with is like, so-and-so's a really good coach, but, just he's got all these other problems or she's got all these other problems. And I'm like, well, those are always the problems, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why they suck. That's why they're causing you problems. That's why you have culture issues in your gym. That's why the team has fractures and fissures in it, because this person doesn't have people skills. And if you can't correct that, I think it's the most important thing in what we do. So I think you start there, and I think people are looking for technical skill sets, and I'm like, that's just out of order. So start there, and then you're the one that's going to give them the technical skills over time. So I think that's how you start to bring on coaches. You look for the right people first.
Well, you mentioned team. That's what episode 2 is going to be all about. Team development, taking a coach and making them part, assimilating them into the team, and how we continue to develop the team as a whole. And within Affiliate U, this is something we do every single day. We have an entire curriculum led by some of the best coaches in the world, from Todd Acuto to Lindsay Andrew to Cabo, now being a part of that team, developing the coaching staff. It's done for you. 26 lessons twice a year. People can go through it starting at any point, and we're going to help you develop your staff. So if you enjoyed that episode, stick around. Coming up, episode 2, all about team development.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.